Hi guys, well today we're going to be taking a look at one of the many gaming laptops which has been revamped to include the new RTX graphics card. So this here is the new ASUS ROG STRIX SCAR 2. You'll have seen this model here before because it appeared last year when the Intel Core i7-8750 arrived. However, while most of the spec inside here remains the same, along with the RTX 20 series GPU, we also get a slightly larger PCI Express SSD, so there's plenty of potential in here for a blazing fast gaming laptop. It's unmistakable that SCAR 2 is designed for the gamer. Across this laptop we have features which mark this out as being tailored to those users who spend large amounts of time in the virtual environment. Inside we have a very well designed laptop which lays out a catalogue of great features. One of the most prominent being that NVIDIA RTX 2060 GPU, which we're going to be testing out later in our video. Now down to business, how much does SCAR 2 cost? Well, it is $2,000 in the UK, $1,900 in the US, and then in Australia you're looking at $2,400. And we should say that in the UK and the American versions of SCAR 2, you're going to be getting a 2070 rather than the 2060 here. If you wanted a ROG laptop similar to this but with the 2060, then you're going to be looking at the Hero 2. So depending on the region, the configuration and pricing might be slightly different. Nevertheless, this is an exciting laptop that we're going to be taking a look at and considering today, which should offer us good overall performance. And before we get into our review, today's video is brought to you by the good guys at Stormforce. Okay, so here is SCAR 2. We love what the ROG team has done with the styling on this model. Rather than opting for plain black casing, we're instead treated to this gunmetal theme, which although plastic, it does benefit from brushed metal appearance. And so overall the design is appealing and it should satisfy most gamers. Now this is a 15.6 inch laptop, but our dimensions are as follows. It is 361mm wide, 265mm deep, and 28mm high. And then on the weight, you're looking at around about 2.4 kilos. And so based on those details, it's going to be ideal if you're traveling about or perhaps jumping on the odd flight. Now taking a look at the lid on our SCAR 2, as we already mentioned, we might have a brushed metal texture, but that panel is plastic. However, you will be pleased to know that the finish on that lid means that it doesn't pick up those finger marks very easily. Over on the right we have the ROG logo which cycles through the different colours, and that lighting along with the keyboard is Aura Sync enabled, so it can be adjusted and it can be synchronized with other devices. So running down the left edge we have DC in there to work with the power pack, a gigabit LAN connection, mini DisplayPort 1.2, HDMI 2.0 that offers 4K at 60Hz, two USB 3.1 Gen 1 ports, another USB 3.1 but that is Type C and Gen 2, and then the audio jack for headphone and microphone. And so a decent bunch of ports there for basic connectivity. While over on the other side, we have an SD card slot reader that supports XC and HC, a USB 3.1 Gen 2 port, some ventilation for the internal components, and Kensington lock allocation for securing the unit up. So there is no CD or DVD drive on this laptop, and that is commonplace nowadays as USB is the chosen standard for accessing storage. So if you do need to access a CD or DVD, then you will need to grab a portable drive which uses that USB interface. Now around the back we don't have any additional ports, but we do have some ventilation there on both sides for the CPU and GPU, and in a moment we're going to take a look at that as we go inside to check it out. If we turn the laptop over, we have one of those small insignificant touches which may not be a deal breaker, but it sets it apart from other laptops, and it is this lovely corrugated finish. This might not matter to most people, but that surface there means that it grips in the hand much easier when you're moving the laptop around. And so we have 6 rubber feet there to ensure that the Scar 2 doesn't slide around on smooth surfaces, and we have some additional ventilation for the internal components. And then in the center, we have some labels with the included standards. Since we're on this side, now would be a good idea to remove the cover and go inside for a look at the components. So here is the layout and design. We come to the CPU first of all, and Scar 2 is based on Coffee Lake architecture, and more specifically the Intel Core i7-8750H, which is a 6-core 12-thread processor, which has a base frequency of 2.2 GHz, which turbo boosts up to 4.1. And then taking care of the graphics, we have the new NVIDIA RTX 2060 GPU, and this is where we find the most significant change with this revamped Scar 2. The mobile version of the RTX 2060 is based on the same desktop Turing 2060, except we do have reduced GPU clock speeds. So we're still able to tap into 6 GB of GDDR6 and features like DLSS and real-time ray tracing. And later on we'll be jumping into the latest games to test this GPU out. So both those components, the CPU and GPU, are cooled with a double fan thermal design with the use of 5 copper heat pipes, and hopefully this configuration will keep those temperatures at bay, and again later on we're going to check that out. For the system memory, we have 16 GB of Samsung DDR4, which operates at 2666, and while that is the minimum that you'll get, there is a spare slot there so you can bump that up if required. So that is a single 16 GB module, and it's going to be perfect for gaming and casual usage. Onto storage, and in this department we would typically get a combo here, and in some configurations there will be 2 drives supplied. For the primary drive, which hosts the operating system, we have a Kingston SSD. Now the great thing about this drive is that it utilizes PCI Express Gen 3 with NVMe technology. We get up to 2000 megabytes a second, as opposed to up to 500, which a SATA-based drive would be limited to. And then for the secondary drive, as you can see, our cage there is empty. There is an option there to upgrade this to large capacity storage, and in some listings you will find a drive included. Sadly, without that drive, it does mean our games library will be pretty limited. The battery inside the laptop is a 4-cell unit, and it is fixed to the laptop, as you can see. So if you do need a replacement, you will need to get in touch with ASUS directly. You can't just upgrade this yourself. So we typically get a 6-cell unit on this type of laptop, so unfortunately it will need recharging sooner than expected. That battery there offers you around 2 hours with typical usage, and obviously the more demanding that usage, that will elapse even quicker. However, if you are gaming, you will want to be plugging in that power adapter anyway, because if you do run off the battery, NVIDIA power saving mode will kick in, and that's going to eat into your performance. For networking, along with the wired gigabit connection, Scar 2 also benefits from dual band 802.11ac along with Bluetooth 5. And for this, ASUS are using the Intel 9560. Okay, so if we open up our laptop, we have a 15.6 inch display which offers us that full HD 1080p. This is an IPS panel which gives us that buttery smooth refresh of 144 Hz. This panel here has a 3 millisecond response and is 100% sRGB with anti-glare. That is quite an impressive spec for a gaming laptop, and one which we definitely welcome. Oddly enough, you'll see that the top of the screen sits very close to the edge of that panel, and therefore it lacks that webcam support. And so instead this is positioned underneath the screen in the bottom right corner. And it doesn't take a genius to realise that placing that camera in that spot means that you're going to be out of frame, unless you sit to the side and much further back. The keyboard on Scar 2 makes use of a compact design but has some subtle alterations compared to what you get on a standard laptop. There are some handy multimedia hotkeys running across the top. We have designated WASD keys with transparent keycaps, N-key rollover with anti-ghosting, and RGB LED backlighting. The one its brightest setting there, it does appear to be quite dim. The feedback from that keyboard though is good. Key presses feel fast and accurate. And then below this we have the touchpad, which sits slightly off center. And we see quite a variety of different touchpads on laptops, and performance can vary. With this one here, it is easy to use, it is precise, and it has those independent clickers below, which gives you that extra control. You'll also notice around the keyboard and touchpad we have this two-tone design, which blends that camo pattern and carbon. And then on the front edge, we have a single RGB LED strip. Well, SCAR 2 has some great features, and up to this point we're pretty impressed. But what is the performance like? Well, it's time to find out now. So the plan really is to firstly go into Windows 10 from a cold boot just to see how long that takes. And then we're going to see what the read and write performance is like for the primary M.2 drive. And then after that it's time for the games, which we're going to be running at 1080p, and we'll go with the ultra detail preset. We'll monitor the temperatures and reveal those at the end. And all of our footage, by the way, is captured with the Ava Media Ultra Gamer to avoid eating into those frame rates. Okay, so first of all let's boot SCAR 2 and see how quick we get into Windows 10 from a cold boot. Okay, and if we just jump out of our last game, we can have a look at those temperatures. So here we have the results for the CPU and GPU. Okay, well that is the new SCAR 2. So it's been a while since we checked out any ASUS laptops, and in that time away it's allowed us to really see what changes have been made with this particular brand. And let's just start by saying that the overall design of this is exquisite. That top lid, the palm area, and those intricate details really mark this model out as being special. For the most part, the hardware spec is what we've already seen in laptops, you know, Coffee Lake CPU, DDR4, PCI Express driven M.2. The main event with this particular laptop is that RTX 2060, which takes that gaming experience up a notch. And by that I mean, you know, the frame rate will be getting in excess of 60 when we shift that maximum detail preset at 1080. Since this is an RTX GPU, we also get the RTX features, although ray tracing enabled is going to kind of eat into that frame rate considerably, and with the 2060 probably isn't going to be worth it. We should also mention that with our panel, it's not only IPS, but we get the 144Hz, which is really smooth, really noticeable. If you haven't tried one of these out, I recommend that you go and sort of experience it firsthand, as you know, moving from 60 to 144 is like night and day. Cooling for this particular laptop here is reasonably good. GPU is going to hit the mid 70s, CPU is going to creep into mid 90s, which isn't ideal. The noise from the cooling fans is also pretty disruptive when it's fully loaded, so if you wear the headphones, it isn't really going to be a problem. So in general, SCAR 2 offers great performance, great features, and all the ports, and it's just very well designed. However, there are a few things which we should note. The webcam is in a bit of a strange spot. It's sort of off towards the right, and you kind of need to sit off towards the right if you want to be in frame. We also had some backlight bleed with this display panel, which appeared in the bottom right corner. Sometimes this can present itself when something is tight up against that back panel, and with this being a review sample, it could be that the screen just needs a bit of a tweak. And another pet hate of mine is all that software that you get pre-installed and which pops up when we boot into Windows, one of which is McAfee antivirus, which I cannot stand. Now for today's poll, we're going to be asking the question, what is the standout feature that you look for in a laptop? Cast your vote in the top right corner. So guys, that is it for me today. Be sure to check out the full review on this SCAR 2 here. Links are going to be on the screen in the description for the review at vortez.net. Over there we've got more benchmarks for those that are interested. So thanks for watching today guys. If you know someone that is in the market for a new laptop just like this, then be sure to share the video with them. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time.